King Antiochus, which is in the Apocrypha and in Second Maccabees chapter 7, was trying to enforce this one world order, and there was a particular chapter in Second Maccabees, chapter 7, that struck me, and I just thought that I would make a video to make you all aware how important it is for us to follow the laws of the Most High. Now, once again, we will be reading from the Apocrypha, the translated out of the original Hebrew tongue. So I'm going to be reading from 2 Maccabees chapter 7, and I'm going to start at verse 1. And it came to pass that 7 brethren with their mother was taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with the scourges and whips. So the king was trying to force this mother and her 7 sons to eat swine's flesh. A lot of us are still eating pork to this day. It is contrary to what the word of the Most High commands for us to do. We are not supposed to be eating any type of pork, which you will find that in Leviticus 11 and 7. I'm going to read on. In verse 2, but one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die, rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. So you had Israelites who were ready, Hebrew Israelites who were prepared to have the king take their lives, versus going against the Most High's laws. This is why, ladies, it's so important for us to turn away from the wicked and return back to the Most High. In verse 3, when the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith, being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of them that spake first, and to cut off the utmost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren, and his mother looking on. Okay, so the king had people cutting out their tongues and parts of their body if they stopped following the Most High's law. Okay, if they didn't stop following the Most High's law, the king commanded for the tongues to be cut out and the utmost parts of their body. Okay, now when he was thus maimed and all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in a pan. So Israelites were being fried in a pan. Can you imagine that? Just because you don't want to, just because you want to follow your God's laws, you're being penalized by this other king, wanting you to bow down to their God and serve what they're serving. We had Israelites who was ready to die versus going against the Most High's laws, and that's what we have to do. We have to be ready to get our lives taken if it came to that. Okay? We have to. We can't follow after traditions of men. We have to follow the laws. You know, it's written in the book. You have to follow the laws. That's what we're doing right now, working towards salvation. But I'm going to finish up verse 5. And as the vapor of the pan was for good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with a mother to die manfully, saying thus, Yahweh God looketh upon us, and in truth hath comfort in us, as Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead after his manner, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. Okay? Brought the second in to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin, scalping him, okay, of his head with the hair, they asked him, "Wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body?" Meaning that, and he was already scalped, so he's stating that he's going to break up the rest of his body, legs, arms, just pure torture. But he answered in his own language and said no, meaning he was not going to do what the king wanted him to do. He has to follow the Most High's laws. Wherefore, he also received the next torment in order, as the former did. So they were tormenting these Israelites. And when he was at the last gasp, meaning his last breath of air, he said, "Thou like a fury takest out of his present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws, unto everlasting life." Okay? So the ones who are going to be put to death over the Most High is going to be raised up. Those who are wicked and not following the Most High's laws, you will not be raised up for the everlasting life. Now I'm going to read in verse 10. After him was the third made a mocking stock. They were laughing, as they were being put to death. That's what mocking stock means. And when he was required, he put out his tongue, and that right soon, holding forth his hands manfully, and said courageously, "These I made him heaven, for his laws I despise them, and from him I hope to receive them again." Insomuch that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage, for that he nothing regarded the pain. So they were laughing at this Israelite, okay? Verse 13. Now, when this man was dead also, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, "It is good, being put to death by men, to look for hope from God, Yahweh, to be raised up again by him. As for you," meaning thee, "thou shalt have no resurrection to life." So he's stating it is good for him to die, to be put to death. But as for the one who's putting him to death, shall have no resurrection to life. Meaning you won't have any everlasting life for putting these Israelites to death. After they brought the fifth also and mangled him, then looked he into the king and said, "Thou hast power over men." So he's looking at the king and he's telling the king this, "Thou hast power over men. Thou art corruptible. Thou doest what thou wilt." Now, a lot of these rappers and stuff like that, they do what thou wilt. They have shirts, advertise, and do whatever you want to do. Following the Most High's, when we follow the Most High's laws and commandments and statutes and judgments, we can't do what we want to do. We can't do what thou wilt. We have to follow the Most High's laws as Moses has instructed for us to do through the Most High. Okay? He says, "Thou doest what thou wilt." He's telling the king this. "Yet think not that our nation is forsaken of Yahweh. But abide a while, and behold his great power. Now he will torment thee and thy seed." So he's going to torment. You can go ahead and do this to me now, but the Most High is going to torment the king and his seed. Okay? After him also they brought the sixth, who, being ready to die, said, "Be not deceived without cause, for we suffer these things for ourselves, having sinned against Yahweh." So he knew that they had sinned, us too, had sinned against the Most High. Therefore, they knew this was their punishment. So they was with the Most High. That's